Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today, the discussion is going to be all about tape measures. Not this one, but I'm going to explain what this tape measure is all about, and I have a new tape measure. Guys, I seen this at my local hardware, and I had to buy this, and this is the DeWalt tape measures. There's something very unique about these, and I'm just going to explain a little something about Canada for all of you around the world that don't know. Canada is supposed to be a metric country, just like Europe. But to tell you the truth, if you're in the skilled trades, metric has never been accepted in the skilled trades to what people think. If you are in another country that is metric, let me know if you have sheets of plyboard that are metric. They tried to bring these into Canada, I guess about 20-25 years ago, and it was never accepted. You know, it wasn't 4 feet by 8 feet. It was a metric dimension, and yeah, it didn't go over very well at all. So all our lumber in Canada is an imperial measure, and this is what the tape measures are about today. And if you're in the steel industry, if you go and buy some steel, do you buy it like we do in Canada, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch, that kind of thing? Or in the electrical trades, we still have gauged wire. It's not measured in metric millimeter. There's so many trades that are still based in imperial. And the problem that we have, at least I see it in Canada, is we're teaching all our children metric from the time they start to school until they leave school. And for so many people who go to a trade school, first thing they do is they pick up a tape measure and they don't know how to read it because it's not metric, it's imperial. Now you can get imperial tape measures. That's the only ones that I get because I really don't see the relevance on getting a metric tape measure because all our building supplies are all in imperial measure. I go buy all my lumber, it's all in feet and inches. My steel, you know, feet, inches. So the idea of metric in Canada is really only for fluid measure, and if you're driving on the road, you're driving in kilometers instead of miles per hour. But besides that, yeah, the metric system didn't take over when it goes to the building trades for a lot of things. So this is what I'm going to look at today, and I'm going to look at some tape measures, and I'm going to show the difference between them and why some are better than others. Well, let's take a look at some tape measures. These two here I picked up at my local Home Depot on sale for 10 bucks a piece. And this here is my Milwaukee one. It is completely different than you could see how this one is. And it has the extended claw on the bottom, and it has a magnet on the end. And that is just terrific because it will grip any piece of steel. So if I'm measuring from, you know, a piece of steel, it holds it on there. Plus it's got like a nice heavy duty claw on the end there. And of course, sideways. So, but you can see this is all in imperial measure. So now let's take a look at this one here, the ones that I just bought. The only difference with this one is if you take a good look there, you could see how it has been graduated now. So the labeling on there is down on the bottom. You could see 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1/8. So they've actually labeled it like that. And I believe the reason why is so that people who have been taught the metric system can use one of these tape measures and understand. Because most people today that are taught in Canada in school, it's only been metric, and they don't know what 1/8 is and 1/4 and 1 inch. They all been taught meters, centimeters, millimeters, and that kind of stuff. So this is a tape measure that I believe is just terrific. Plus, as the eyes get older, you can see all the different measurements. And of course, these tape measures, like most other ones, mark out your distances between framing studs, so 16 inch, 32 inch. So I mean, that's terrific, and I like the idea of marking out the graduations. Now, the old graduations are on this side, and the new ones are here. So somebody could say, you know, 35 and an eighth. Well, there it is. It's marked 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, ½ inch, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8. So that is just awesome that DeWalt would do something like that. Now this is another tape measure I've had for a long time, and it is just a dandy. Now this tape measure does one thing only. It measures and tells you whatever you're measuring is in half. So no matter what you measure with this tape measure, it will tell you what the half one is, the halfway mark is. So you take, for instance, at 9-inch. So I'll turn this light off here. It might be less glare. So you take a look here. You take a look at the 9 there. All you do is go to the 9 over here, and that's exactly half. No matter where you go on this, you go 40 inches. You just go to the bottom scale. You go over to 40, and that is half. And that is great for woodworking. A lot of times you want to take a particular material and actually divide it in half. Well, that's exactly what this does. And I think it's just terrific that they make a tape measure like this that will show you the distance between two measurements and the halfway mark. And it can be used like a regular tape measure as well, but I think this idea of half is just terrific. So again, if you were to go to, say, right here at the 16, you just go over here to the 16. Oh, of course, most people would know it's 8 anyways, but you just go to this 16, and there you are. Now, it also does it between every different graduation in between here as well, which is just, I think, a handy tape measure to have. So what do you guys think? I'll tell you what, for 10 bucks a piece, I think they're terrific. There's a lot of places in the world that think that Canada is a metric country, but in reality, yeah, we don't use metric as much as people think. Fasteners, you know, on vehicles today are mostly all metric. Big machinery and farm machinery is still imperial, but you know, a lot of times you're thinking about a tape measure, and you know, for people that live in, well, I guess there's only one country in the world that is still on the imperial system, which would be the United States. But this is probably just normal for most Americans. But I mean, for Canada, you know, a lot of people around the world think that we're got everything in metric, when in fact we don't. Like I said in the beginning, our steel and all our metal and, you know, everything. If you want some rebar, it's all imperial. If you want you know, conduit, it's all 1 inch and 1.5 inch, and pipes are all still imperial. So there you go. And these idea of the putting in the individual graduations, I think is terrific, because, you know, I think it's targeted towards people as they get older. Their eyesight ain't as good as what it used to be. And also the beginning generation, the new generations that are coming up going into the skilled trades. I've talked to some of these people, you know, who just get out of high school, and they don't know what a foot is, and they don't know what, you know, 1 inch and 1/4 of an inch and 3/8 and 5/16, and, you know, they're not taught that kind of stuff in school, and I think that's a big disservice to the children today. If you have a country that where you're saying that you are metric, but most of your trades are actually dealing with still imperial measure, well, you should be teaching both then. So thanks for joining me here today. If you've never seen this channel before, well, you're welcome to subscribe. And I think this DeWalt tape measure is terrific. Cheers.